So, why does it sometimes feel impossible to finish your music and actually release it? And why are the bands that you're looking up to releasing multiple songs, maybe even an album or two per year, when you're releasing maybe two songs every 2 years? Well, I can tell you right now, there's no excuses. And in this video, I'm going to tell you exactly how to finish your music by using systems. Okay, so how to actually finish your music. The thing is, to actually finish your music and get it released, all you need is three basic things. You need time, you need gear, and you need ideas. For time, everyone can find time, no matter how busy you are. You can fit in an hour or two, at least once a week, to actually invest time into making music. As far as gear, most people have the correct gear. Maybe they don't know how to use it yet, but most people have gear and they know how to use it. And I guarantee you, every single one of you has ideas, right? So if we have these three things, why do only a small portion of bands that have all these three things ever release music? There's so many bands out there, so many bands, right? So why do only a small portion of them actually release music and make it? Well, they understand these 4 key steps in music creation, production, whatever you want to call it. There's 4 key steps. There is jamming with your band, right? This is you going over to wherever you jam, you guys hanging out and coming up with ideas together. Next, after you jam, you start writing, which is actually putting your ideas into a DAW. Next is mixing. You mix all of your recorded ideas into a cohesive mix that actually sounds good. And then you master your mix so it's ready for every single streaming platform. These are the 4 key steps that you need to do. But again, most artists know this. Most artists know that they have to jam with the band, they have to write stuff in the DAW, they have to mix, and they have to master. But they don't know how to systemize these things. You can't just jump around without direction. What a lot of bands do, especially ones that are just starting out and they've never really written a single together, they've never written a full album, is they start at jamming, right? And then they go all the way to mixing, right? What a lot of bands do is they skip steps. They say, okay, I'm going to write while I jam, and then I'm just going to, like piece together recording and mix it real fast and master it. And this is what keeps artists either stuck from actually finishing songs, or when they finish songs, they don't feel confident with their final release and they kind of regret it after they post it, right? So you can't go from jamming to writing without a jamming system. You can't go from writing to mixing without a writing system. And you can't go from mixing to mastering without a mixing system. You have to go at these. Let me get a different pen color. You have to go at these step by step with specific systems so that you can, the ultimate goal is you can rinse and repeat this process over and over and over again. And that's why a lot of bands are able to produce a lot of music very quickly, while a lot of bands, especially ones that are starting out, it takes them forever just to write a few singles, right? So obviously, what I said in the beginning is you need to systemize your production. And you can't just go off vibes and motivation. Big bands aren't built that way. I get it. You're an artist. You feel motivated sometime and the vibe is right, but you can't just work when the vibe and the motivation is there. You have to actually set time and follow a system from start to finish so you can actually finish stuff. Okay? Now, this is what happens when we systemize all these parts, when we systemize jamming, writing, mixing, and mastering. So take this as if we're trying to do a single. We're a brand new band. I'm guessing a lot of people that are watching this are maybe a brand new band, or they have released a few singles or maybe an album in the past, and they're looking to level up their music, right? So picture we're doing a single. So what we're going to do is we're going to start at jamming. This is where it all starts, right? So you want to have like a schedule with your band. You want to meet with your band like 2 times a week, or you say, hey guys, where can we meet? How many times? Like, when do you guys get off work? Should we meet on weekends? Everything like that. You need to get that like logistically solved with your band if you actually want to produce music quicker, right? Next, after you have a meeting schedule, you want to start recording with your phone for rough ideas. Literally just set your phone up in the band room or wherever you practice or whatever you're doing, set it up and just kind of riff and figure out some ideas that you guys collectively like. Next, after you have your ideas and they're all recorded, what you want to do is you want to communicate with the band which ideas stay or leave. Ideally, at one of these band meets, like one of the band meets per week is actually coming up with ideas. Then the second one is just a meeting to say, okay, I like this part, I like this part. This could be good for the next song. This could be good for the next song. Everything like that. And then in that meeting you have with your band, this is where we're going to agree on the basics. Like, I like this riff. I like these drums. I like these rough vocals that you sang the other day. And all of this just to get like a rough song idea, not recorded yet, but just you got the ideas and you're ready to piece it together. It should take around 2 weeks max. Now, if you can't get this done in 2 weeks, just remember, just for a single, you have a fundamental chemistry or operational issue with your band. Okay? Meeting with the band is not just hangout time. You need to work as a team. If you can't get an idea for a song in 2 weeks, either you're really serious and the rest of your band isn't serious, you have operational issues because people aren't showing up to band practice, people aren't showing up to meetings, everything like that. This is mostly a band problem if you can't do this in 2 weeks. And you might want to cycle through new members, audition new people, everything like that, or get them up to speed with the correct mindset that I'm kind of going over in this video. Show this to them. It'll really help them. It'll help out your whole band if you show this to them. Because everyone in your band needs to know this, not just you. Okay? So share it. So this should take 2 weeks. So after we are done jamming and we have all of this completed, now we can move to writing. You see how this works? So now we have everything ready to actually write. Now what we want to do is we want to jot down the rough draft, riffs, drums, vocals into a DAW. And this is kind of like how I like to phrase it, is when a book writer sits down to write, they don't just keep everything in their head and say, oh, I'm writing right now, and they just sit at their desk. No, they actually put it on paper, right? And they actually write words or they type it in. It's the same thing with your music. You aren't writing and jamming. You are jamming, right? When you're here, you're writing, you're putting it into the DAW, you're getting actual guitar recordings, you're getting like MIDI drums placed or vocal takes. This is how you actually write. Okay. Now, next is you want to jot down the rough draft, riffs, drums, vocals into the DAW that you agreed on during the jam session and all the meetings beforehand. Then, once you jot down those rough ideas, you want to then form those into a proper song structure. Because what's going to happen is you're going to go sit down and write at your DAW, and it's just going to sound like a riff salad, right? So what you want to do with all those riffs and random drum fills and vocals here and there, you want to actually start forming a song. That's why we do this in the writing stage, not the jamming. You may have an idea of this in the jamming, but it's really important to do this during the writing stage because you actually have the waveforms on your DAW and you can actually fit it together and make the song structure stick. Because when you're jamming, a lot of the times you're saying, oh, okay, we'll do the song like this and this and this, like verse, chorus, breakdown, whatever. But then like things just constantly change because you're not actually getting it down into a DAW. So that's why we want to do it here in the DAW. And then once you have the song structure finalized, you want to record the final takes of the song. So this is the exact guitar takes. These are the exact vocal takes. These are the exact drums, right? Everything like that. You want to have the final takes written in there. And then You want to ensure all source tones are mix ready and tracks are bounced out ready to mix, whatever you're going to do for mixing, right? Now this should take, again, around 2 weeks. And if you can't get this done in 2 weeks, then you have a DAW or studio efficiency problem. Writing means, again, actually opening up your DAW and recording stuff. You don't write by keeping things in your head. Get it out onto the screen so it sticks. Okay, so once we follow that, now we are ready to mix. You see, we're not jumping from jamming to mixing. We're actually taking this step by step, so when you're ready to mix, you're ready to mix. So for mixing, a lot of the time this happens, the band decides to DIY their mix or hire an engineer, right? And this can be subjective to you. So once you decide that, you're going to pick out the reference track that you want to make it sound like. And then you want to balance each track based off the reference. You want to dial in the mix bus. You want to dial in the individual tracks. And then you want to automate and get those final tweaks to make this mix sound amazing. And then you want to test the mix on different devices, like all different devices you can. Like the cheapest to the most expensive stuff you got, test it on all the devices so you know for sure that the mix sounds good on everything. And this should take around 1 week. It doesn't take that long to mix a song. It's not going to take as long as jamming and writing. It should be, especially if you actually got done writing, mixing should not take long at all. But if you can't finish a mix in 1 week, then you obviously have a mixing workflow problem, right? You aren't being decisive, or you're second guessing every move you make on the mix, right? Bands are just the artists usually. They're just the performers. They just want to write. They want to play shows, everything like that. They're usually not the sound engineer. That's why many bands actually hire pro engineers to mix for them so they can just focus on this. Like most artists want to just focus on these two. And if you then send out the rest of this, the mixing and the mastering, you're going to pump out songs even faster. So that's why a lot of the times bands hire. So next, after you're done with that, after you're done with mixing, obviously we're going to go up to mastering. So again, you can decide to DIY your master or hire an engineer. I would not recommend AI mastering. It's not going to sound very human, obviously. I would recommend to have an actual human master your stuff. So to master, you just pull in the mix version into a mastering session. You ensure everything is dialed in and polished. You make sure it's loud enough to compete. Secret hack, -5 LUFS. This is going to be your best friend. Just mix everything -5 LUFS and then, or master. And then you want to test it on multiple devices to make sure that the master sounds amazing on everything that it's played on. And this should take no less than 3 days. If you can't get a master done in 3 days, you have a mastering workflow problem, right? This is like, it's actually very easy to master a great mix. That's why most bands hire a mixer and then get it mastered as well so they can get the final files ASAP. Like I said, you're the artist. You're probably just wanting to do this and then go out and play shows, sell merch and everything like that. So if you do the green circle and then outsource the red circle, you should have your first single finished in less than 2 months, really. And this is how most bands operate. That's why you see all of these bands posting music constantly, because they know this system. And most bands, the big bands that you look up to, they focus all right here in the green circle, and they let the professionals just take it from there, and they can just post music over and over and over again because they know this system. Hope this helps you out.